4 months after my father's funeral, the house no longer feels like ours. Mom hums while she cooks, a tune I don't recognize, something cheerful and wrong. Tom's laughter echoes down the hallway, mixing with the sound of unfamiliar voices. I keep waiting to hear my father's footsteps, but silence always answers back. One evening, Mom calls me into the living room, her tone bright and rehearsed. "Annie," she says, "we've been thinking about your room." The way she says, makes my stomach tighten like a knot. Tom stands beside her, his hand resting on her waist, fingers claiming space. He smiles the way adults do, when they're about to deliver bad news gently. "Chloe needs a bigger room," he says, nodding toward the stairs. I blink, unsure if I heard him right. Mom continues before I can respond, her voice soft but steady. "The room by the garage would be better for you. More private, quieter." I know that room. It's not a room. It's a converted storage space that smells like mold and old paint. No windows, no warmth, just concrete and shadows. "You want me to move out of my bedroom?" The words leave my mouth before I can stop them. Mom's expression flickers for a moment, then resets. "This isn't just your house anymore, Annie," Tom says patiently. His voice carries that careful calm adults use when correcting children. "We're a family now. We all have to make compromises." Family. The word tastes bitter. Dad has been gone for 4 months, and already I am furniture that doesn't fit the decor. Upstairs, Chloe's laughter rings out, bright and sharp like breaking glass. Mom doesn't look at me. She wraps her arm around Tom, smiling at something he whispers. I feel invisible. Later that night, I stand in my room surrounded by the ghosts of what used to be mine. The bookshelf Dad built when I was 8. The posters I begged Mom not to throw away. The window that caught the afternoon sun just right. Soon it will belong to someone else. I sit on the edge of my bed, the wooden box in my hands. Inside, my father's watch ticks softly. The sound feels louder in the quiet. Mom knocks once before entering. She doesn't ask to come in. She looks around the room like she's already measuring what to move. "It's for the best," she says, avoiding my eyes. "Change can be good." I want to tell her that not all change means progress. I want to tell her that I still wake up thinking I hear Dad's cough. But I say nothing. When she leaves, the scent of Tom's cologne lingers behind her. That night, I start packing. Books, photos, pieces of myself going into boxes labeled storage. I stop at the picture of Dad and me at the lake. He's smiling, sunlight in his eyes alive. I trace his face with my thumb and whisper, "I don't belong here anymore." The clock on his watch ticks once, steady, as if it agrees. The room by the garage smells like damp concrete and forgotten things. Mom calls it cozy, but the air feels heavy, almost wet against my skin. A single light bulb hangs from the ceiling, buzzing faintly like an insect trapped in glass. Boxes line the walls, labeled with words that used to mean something. Memories, books, Daniel's tools, all of them sealed and silent. I sleep on a narrow bed that creaks with every breath. Upstairs, laughter echoes again, sharp and careless. I imagine them sitting around the dinner table, my chair empty, my plate gone. Sometimes I press my ear to the thin wall and hear Chloe giggling. She is planning how to paint her new room lavender. I swallow hard and pretend not to care. The next morning, I find my bookshelf missing. The one Dad built for me when I was little. It's upstairs now, in Chloe's Instagram story, filled with her trophies. My hands shake as I scroll through her video. She twirls in the middle of what used to be my room, sunlight catching her hair. Mom's voice is in the background, soft and proud. She finally feels at home. I don't cry then. I just stand still until the screen times out. That night, I go through the boxes stacked beside my bed. Most are filled with old clothes, broken picture frames, forgotten toys. But at the bottom of one, under a pile of sweaters, I find a notebook. Brown leather, edges worn smooth from years of use. My father's handwriting sprawls across the first page, neat and steady. March 12, dinner with Lisa and her friend. Hi. He talks too much. My breath catches. Hi. That was Tom's name, before Mom started calling him by his middle one. I flip forward, my hands trembling. March 28, Lisa met him again, said she needed a friend who understands. I feel the floor tilt beneath me. Dad was alive in March. He was home, he was still trying. The entries go on, each one heavier than the last. April 8, they went for coffee, third time this week. April 14, she smiles when he texts. My throat burns. All this time, Mom had already begun replacing him. I close the journal, press it to my chest, and whisper, I'm sorry, Dad. Upstairs, music plays, bass thudding against the ceiling. The smell of fresh paint drifts down the stairs, lavender and sweet. I can almost hear Chloe laughing as she decorates. I can almost hear Mom telling Tom how wonderful it looks. I stay in the garage room, holding the journal like a lifeline. The pages hum with secrets I was never meant to read. Somewhere in the dark, the watch ticks steadily. Each second feels like proof that time is still moving, even when I'm not. I lie back on the narrow bed, eyes open to the flickering bulb above. I used to think grief was silence. Now I know it has a sound. It sounds like laughter from another room. Rain drums against the windowless wall, a steady rhythm that fills the silence. I sit on the cold floor, surrounded by boxes that no longer belong to me. Mom's voice echoes from upstairs, calm and practical. She's old enough to handle change. Tom's deeper tone follows, low and certain. The baby will need space. Annie will understand. They say my name like it's a problem to be solved. The next morning, I come home from class and find my bed missing. Pink paint can sit by the door. My things are piled in plastic bags beside the stairs. Mom appears, holding a mug of coffee, her eyes avoiding mine. We moved your stuff. It was time, she says simply. The words land like stones in my chest. Tom stands behind her, smiling that thin, polite smile. It's cozier in the garage anyway. You'll have privacy. Privacy, the word tastes like dust. That night, I sit on the concrete floor, clutching Dad's journal. My breath fogs in the cold air as I whisper his name. The watch in my hand ticks quietly, counting every second I don't belong here. Later, I find another box by the front door labeled Donate. Inside are Dad's journals, 12 volumes, stacked neatly under old sweaters. I pull them out, heart racing, fingers shaking. Mom catches me halfway up the stairs. Put those back, she says sharply. They're clutter. We need room for the baby. They're Dad. I manage to say. He's gone, Annie. You're living in the past. Her voice hardens, something cold replacing the mother I knew. I take another step back, clutching the journals to my chest. These are mine, I whisper. She stares at me for a long moment, then sighs. Fine, add them to your mess. That night, I read by flashlight. The words blur together, his handwriting looping across the page like memory itself. He wrote about his hopes for me. His fears, his love, his doubts about Mom. Each sentence feels like a conversation we never had. Outside, thunder rolls over the neighborhood. I imagine him sitting beside me, telling me not to give up. When I close the last journal, I know I can't stay here anymore. The next day, I pack what I can fit into one suitcase. Books, clothes, the wooden box. Everything else can rot with the lavender paint. As I walk toward my car, Mom stands in the doorway, arms crossed. Where will you even go? She asks, but her tone holds no worry. To people who still remember him, I reply. Her eyes flicker with something, guilt, maybe, or fear, then go blank again. I drive through the rain until the house disappears in my rearview mirror. Grandma's porch light glows ahead like a lighthouse in the storm. When she opens the door, she doesn't ask what happened. She just wraps her arms around me, steady and warm. Your father knew this might happen, she whispers into my hair. I close my eyes, the sound of her heartbeat drowning out the rain. For the first time in months, I let myself believe I'm safe. Morning light filters through lace curtains in my grandparents' farmhouse. The air smells of coffee and old books, calm and familiar. For weeks, I sleep without nightmares, though the ache never really fades. Grandpa spends his mornings fixing things around the house, patient and quiet. One day, he hands me a hammer and says, "Might as well learn." I follow him outside, the gravel crunching under my shoes. We repair a broken fence, replace boards, paint over the splinters. He tells me Dad built fences the same way, slow and steady. Every nail feels like a heartbeat. I'm helping to continue. In the evenings, Grandma spreads legal papers across the kitchen table. She used to work for a lawyer, and her eyes still miss nothing. "These are your father's trust documents," she says, tapping the page. "You inherit everything when you turn 20. The words sink in slowly, heavy and unreal. 3 houses, savings, a plan my father made to protect me. He knew Mom might lose herself before I could save her. I start keeping a notebook, writing down everything I learn. How to read contracts. How to manage property. How to calculate fair rent. Grandpa drives me to the houses on weekends, teaching me repairs. Check the roof first, look for leaks. Water ruins everything faster than time. He says it like a rule, but it feels like advice for life. Sometimes we stand outside the house, where I used to live. The curtains are drawn, but I see shadows move inside. Tom's truck is parked in the driveway, shiny and new. I wonder if Mom ever thinks about the daughter she erased. Back home, Grandma sits with her tea and tells me about strength. "Forgiveness isn't surrender," she says. "It's choosing what to carry and what to set down." I nod, though I'm not sure which I'm ready to do yet. Months pass, marked by classes, repairs, and quiet meals. I enroll in business courses, work part-time at a local office. Numbers make sense to me. They don't lie the way people do. At night, I study Dad's journals again, tracing the ink like a map. He wrote about building his first house with his bare hands. He wrote about me learning to ride a bike. He wrote about how he feared Mom's ambition would outgrow love. By the time my 19th birthday arrives, I've built something new inside myself. Not anger, but purpose. Every day feels like preparation for a storm that's still coming. I hang a calendar on my wall and circle one date in red. My 20th birthday. The day the trust becomes mine. The day everything changes. I imagine walking into my old house, no longer as a child, but as the owner. Not to destroy, but to reclaim. Grandpa pats my shoulder and says, "He'd be proud, you know." I believe him. Because for the first time since Dad died, I believe in myself too. The morning of my 20th birthday smells like rain and fresh paper. Grandma stands by the door, holding my coat, her eyes proud and calm. "You're ready," she says, and for once I believe it completely. At the lawyer's office, the papers feel heavier than I expected. My name printed beside words like ownership and transfer of trust. The pen shakes in my hand, but I sign anyway. When I leave, the world feels sharper, more real. Every sound outside the window echoes with possibility. 3 properties, full control, my father's promise fulfilled. That evening, I sit at my desk and prepare the letter. 30 days, notice to vacate the property. Legal, clean, final. It's not revenge, it's restoration. Grandpa drives me back to the old neighborhood the next morning. Tom's new boat glints in the driveway, parked beside Mom's car. I take a deep breath before walking up the steps I once ran across. When she opens the door, her smile falters. "Annie," she says softly, like she's seen a ghost. I hand her the envelope without a word. Her fingers tremble as she tears it open. What is this? A formal notice, You have 30 days to leave. Tom appears behind her, a beer in his hand, his jaw tightening. You can't do this, he says, voice rising. Actually, I can, I reply, my tone steady. The property belongs to me now. The trust transferred this morning. Mom's face drains of color. A baby cries upstairs, the sound sharp and small. You wouldn't throw out your own family, she pleads. I swallow hard. You did that a long time ago. Tom steps forward, his voice hard like gravel. You're ungrateful, after everything we gave you. What you gave me was a closet and silence, I answer quietly. Mom's eyes fill with tears, but they don't stop me. I turn, the sound of the baby's cries following me to the door. Outside, the sky breaks open, rain pouring down like release. By the time I reach the car, my phone vibrates nonstop. Texts from relatives, missed calls, accusations typed in capital letters. Heartless, disrespectful, ungrateful. I sit behind the wheel, forehead pressed to the steering wheel. Would Dad think I was cruel? Would he understand? Grandpa's voice cuts through the doubt when I tell him later. You didn't take anything that wasn't already yours, he says firmly. People confuse guilt with love. Don't make that mistake. Days turn into weeks. Mom and Tom ignore the deadline, pretending nothing will happen. But when the 30th day arrives, we return with a locksmith and documents. The police verify everything. The house is mine again. Inside, I find Dad's fishing trophies tossed in a trash bin. I clean each one, setting them carefully on the counter. The walls are painted pink, but beneath them, my pencil marks remain. Proof that not everything can be erased. When I lie in my old bed that night, the air smells new. The watch ticks softly on my wrist, steady and alive. For the first time in years, I sleep without fear. The calls begin before sunrise, one after another, all from unknown numbers. Relatives I haven't spoken to in years suddenly find their voices. How could you do this to your mother? Your father would be ashamed. Each message stings, even when I delete them. Mom posts a photo online, her eyes red, her tone practiced. My own daughter made us homeless, she writes beneath the image. Hundreds of comments flood in, full of sympathy and judgment. For a moment, I start to wonder if they're right. Then Grandpa calls me into the kitchen, laptop open on the table. Time to set the record straight, he says simply. On the screen is a post he's written, careful and detailed. Photos of my boxes in the garage. Screenshots of Mom refusing to sign my college forms. Dates, receipts, documents. The truth, lined up like soldiers. He clicks share, and the silence that follows feels electric. Within hours, comments begin to shift. People who saw how I was treated start to speak up. Old teachers, neighbors, friends from school. I remember her mother never showed up to events. They kicked her out when she was still a teenager. The tide turns quietly but completely. Mom's version of the story begins to collapse. I sit beside Grandma as rain patters against the window. She pours me tea and says, "Truth doesn't need to shout, it just waits." Her words settle in my chest like warmth. I still ache, but not with guilt anymore. Later, an envelope arrives from Mom's lawyer. A list of items of sentimental value she claims are hers. I send back what truly belongs to her, and nothing more. The next afternoon, she shows up in person. No makeup, no camera, just tired eyes and trembling hands. I made mistakes, she says, voice barely above a whisper. I stand in the doorway, the rain dripping from the eaves behind her. You didn't make mistakes, I say. You made choices. She nods, tears spilling over. I never thought you'd actually leave. That's because you never saw me, I answer softly. The words hang between us like fog. For a long moment, she doesn't move. Then she says, "Can we start over?" I shake my head. No, but I forgive you. She turns away, shoulders curved inward, disappearing into the gray light. I close the door and lock it, not out of anger but peace. Weeks later, I moved to a small apartment in Seattle. The windows face the harbor, and the rain sounds softer here. I finish my degree, start managing my father's properties full-time. The business grows faster than I expect, steady and honest. Each contract I sign feels like stitching the past into something whole. On my desk, Dad's watch sits in a glass case, still ticking. Every morning, I touch it before work and whisper, "We made it." Some wounds never heal the way you expect. They close slowly, with truth, with distance, with time. I no longer wait for apologies. I live in the life I built from what survived. 3 years have passed since the day I took back the house. The anger has faded, leaving quiet understanding in its place. I live in a small apartment filled with sunlight and the scent of books. My company has grown, steady and simple, just the way Dad taught me. Every month, rent from the houses covers my studies and my dreams. I visit Grandma and Grandpa on weekends, their laughter softer now. Sometimes we talk about him, and it no longer hurts to remember. Mom and Tom divorced last spring, their story ending where mine began. Chloe sent a letter, apologizing for not seeing what was happening. I wrote back only one line: "It's never too late to be kind." Last week, I stood outside the old house one final time. A new family lives there now, children running through the yard. Their laughter sounded like hope, not ghosts. I touched the doorframe, the marks of my height still faintly visible. The world felt lighter, like forgiveness had finally found its shape. At home, Dad's watch ticks on my desk, steady and sure. Its sound reminds me that time doesn't erase, it rebuilds. And sometimes, the truest inheritance is simply learning how to stay standing.